Racism has always been destructive, not just to its victims, but also to those who practice it. Today, I want to talk about a dangerous trend I see emerging in the modern anti-racist movements. Let me be clear. I don't believe that white people or black people or yellow people, for that matter, or any kind of these racial categories exist as coherent categories. It's not a cultural identity. It's not a political class. It's just a label built on ignorance and historical myth and social fictions. It was built on the false idea that races exist as genetic biological categories. This idea has been disproven more than 100 years ago, or at least 50 years ago, and it has been fundamentally disproven. Races don't exist. But what I see is that it is being reappropriated as a social idea, and particularly in movement influenced by critical race theory. And it is the use of the same racial logic that white supremacists have used for centuries, only now it's being reversed. Some of these movements, they speak about whiteness, in parentheses, as if it is some moral failing. They treat light-skinned people as a collective group guilty of past crimes, responsible for current systems, and obligated to carry a burden of guilt. This isn't just ethically wrong, it's just self-defeating. You cannot dismantle injustice by recycling the very tool that built it. What's worse, this kind of thinking is provoking something very dangerous. When you treat an entire group of people as the enemy, especially a group that is still a majority, there in the Western world, the majority of people are light-skinned, you risk provoking a very heavy reaction because you are posing yourself as the enemy. And the reaction is what white supremacists have always wanted. It confirms their worldview that people that are not white, in parentheses, are hostile. It gives them fuel. When Black Lives Matter activists speak in a way that frames all people of light complexion of European descent as white people and them as the colonizers and as the enemy, they aren't dismantling racism, they are legitimizing it. Because if you tell people they are hated just for their skin color, some will respond with hate of their own, and justifiably so, because what this person is doing by hating you for your skin color is racism. And we have learned now for 80 years that racism is wrong. So they are kind of justified to be mad about it. And the problem is that therefore the anger for racism can cause racism because it is selectively creating outrage against people who are performing racism, which happens to come all from people who believe in critical race theory and Black Lives Matter movements, which are mostly people of a darker skin tone. It doesn't protect minorities. It puts them at risk because if society falls back into thinking into racial blocks, we start seeing ourselves as black versus white, oppressor versus oppressed, then minorities will always lose that number game. I don't believe in race. I don't identify as white, black, yellow, or whatever. I'm just a person. And I don't think others should be forced to identify that way either. As a matter of fact, I don't think that people should identify that way at all because there is no scientific basis for it. As long as you just don't change totally the meaning of words. But these meanings have historical precedents which are harmful, and we should therefore stay away from these words, in my opinion. We don't treat people, for example, with blonde hair as a political group. We don't organize societies around green eyes or blue eyes. Why are we still doing the same with skin color? Especially in the US, which in some way has legal racism, as race is still used as a category in government forms. The more we talk about race, the more real it becomes. And that is the danger. Minorities only exist, in the sense of racial minorities, if races exist. And races only exist if we keep reinforcing it in our education, activism, and our language. This is not to say that racism doesn't exist, but we should separate the person who is racist and the person against whom this person is being racist. Racism itself is just an expression of ignorance. It doesn't say anything about the person who is being discriminated. It is the same as if somebody tomorrow comes to a ginger person and says, you don't have a soul. And therefore, I don't. Gingers have no souls, for example. This is a general stereotype. It's a kind of, sometimes they make fun of it. But if somebody would take this seriously, if somebody seriously discriminates people because they have red hair, because they have some kind of weird idea about it, that doesn't mean that red-haired people are a distinct group from other people. That difference only exists in the racist's his head. Some anti-racist rhetoric today is just antagonizing the very group they define as the majority. And maybe not out of malice, but out of a flawed understanding of justice. And racism always has its victims. It harms those it targets and it corrupts those who use it. This is not a call to silence people who stand up against racism. It is just a call to rethink our framework. If we truly want equality, we must abandon racial ideas of race. We just have to enforce equality. Let's stop thinking in races and just think in people. Thank you for watching.